Hi guys, so this is the session where we're going to go through all the really useful bits of code which can make your game great. Let's jump straight into it. One thing we need to get clear is how to get great graphics. Let's start at that. So let's jump into the internet and look at the page on images. So that is under resources in image library. Now we've reworked this so that it's more friendly. You click on here and it will bring you to a Scratch project which has all of the creatures you might need, and they're all animated for you. And you can go straight to them. I'll just stop it. And let's say I wanted a bee. So I'd go to the bee one. I'd right click on it and I would export it. That would send it down. It was stored down there. Now I'd go into my project, which is hasn't got much in it, and I would upload from the flying honeybee. And within a very short period of time, the honeybee would appear. And the nice thing now is you can see that the honeybee is automatically working. And it's as simple as that. You first of all download, and then from our Sprite library, and then you upload into your project, and it will work. Okay, good. Let's look at some movement things. So the code help is here to give you a good overview of possible codes. The first one I would go into is kind of simple movement. Now, simple movement gives you the up, down, sideways and backwards. And if you go into here, you will find that you get a detailed description of how to do it. Up arrow, change by Y by 3, and you can go into a project which explains it, which you can copy as well. We're going to be doing a lot of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at, maybe not that one, I'll look at follow the mouse. So let's look at follow the mouse. So it clicks us into this library and we have a look. If I click on it, you can see following the mouse is a good game strategy because you haven't got full control, and so it adds a sort of element of, well, randomness, I suppose. So, but very simple code. When clicked, the forever loop. Then for motion, it points towards, and you come down here and you click the mouse pointer, and then you can put however many steps you want, if you want it to be fast or slow. I always like a slower version of that. And that's that element of movement. If I say come to jumping is one of those things which people often do not so well. So we've got, this is the code for our standard moving up and down. And you'll see that this works. Ching, ching, ching. The jump element, should be able to get up, is done by repeatedly changing the Y, then having a little weight at the top, and then repeatedly changing the 10. But doing the fall in slower steps. So it means the jump is higher and the fallback is slower. I press the space bar to get the jump, and you can see it gives you that feeling of something a bit like gravity. You have a big jump and then you fall back. Big jump and a fall back. You can, if you're moving forward, you get a sort of triangular jump. So that's how you deal with jumping in code structures. We haven't got the opportunity to go through everything here, so I'm going to sort of cherry pick some of the good ones. Eating. Eating is something you will have in your game, without a doubt. So let's pull this little butterfly over here and look at what happens. So if the butterfly's got a health of 100 and it's going to be flying over to get the apple, and the apple disappears and the health goes from 110 up to 110. Let's see how we did that. First of all, we put the when clicked, we set the health to 100, we put a forever loop in, then an if loop with inside, and the if is if touching the apple. So if touching the food, which is called apple. We change health by 10, we make a little sound which you wouldn't have picked up, and we broadcast eat just in case we want to use it for something else. And that's all the code. The broadcast is not an important part of it. Okay, so we've eaten something good. Let's eat something horrible. This is the dealing with the pesticide one. So the butterfly element of this just flies around and moves around, but the pesticide section is a bit more complicated. Here we clone, which is we create copies of the pesticide, and that's a useful technique for getting multiple versions of something. And then here for each clone it goes to a random position, and if it touches the butterfly, we change the health of the butterfly by -10, and then we delete the clone. So let's see what that does. First of all, you will see that the butterfly is moving in the normal way, but you can see that insecticide bottles are being cloned slightly randomly, and I've eaten one and my health has gone down to 80. Eat another one, 70. Oh, there's another one, 60, 50, and every time I touch one of them they disappear, which is good, but not so good for me because my health is now 10. So we'll just leave that there, and that gives you an idea of how you could deal with getting poisoned by insecticides. And now the icons could be anything you want. Remember, you can go in and you can always find the studio for these things at the bottom description of the code. Now the next thing is a kind of predation. Well, I suppose the first thing is the game over screen where your health goes down, and we want to show how that creates a game over. And so you can see on this one the health is dropping 50, 40, 30, 20, 10. Something could be dropping it. Once it's gone to 0, the game over screen, everything stops, you've lost. So let's see how I did that. First of all, I had a when clicked. I set the health to 100. I had a nice sky green backdrop. I had a forever loop. And then this if health is smaller than 1, which would be 0 in this case, I switched backdrop to game over. And the most important one here, stop all. I then stop all. And that has a process of dealing with that. The next one after that is damage. Damage is worth looking at. Let's have a look at this and see what happens in this game. So here we have a cat, and he gets caught by a bear. It says, I might hurt you, and he loses 5 points of his health. Okay. He doesn't lose it all, and it doesn't continue to use it, so it gives you a chance to get caught and then move away. And let's look at what the code is like for this. So this is kind of a predation, but not a complete killing event. So we get, when clicked, of course, we set the health to the beginning health, put a forever loop in, and then we say, if touching the bear, we're going to do something. So I like to say, I might hurt you, put a bit of a time delay in. reduce my health by 5, and another time delay 1 second, which gives an overall interaction which allows the game player move away without getting really quick health loss. So those little time delays are really useful. This the say section you find in looks. Okay, so we've dealt. That gives you a feeling of damage. We're doing really well. We're kind of doing predation, which comes us onto variables. Well, we have actually sneakingly been using variables like score and health, but this time let's set up a variable. Well, I think I might just here create a new game. Just bear with me. So once you've got your game open, you want to come down here into variables and click on make a variable, and you're going to put health in here, health. And importantly, you're not going to do this not on all sprites, it's all for this sprite only. It's always click for all sprites. That allows them to be used by everyone in the game. And then you can see health appears. It appears up here on the screen, and you can set it to an initial value and you can change it. So these are things we're going to be looking at. So let us jump right into using it. I think probably we're going to look at, let's look at a winning variable. So in this situation, the score is going up by 10 every second, and this frog must be doing something clever to get that. And then he gets to 100, and bang, we have a nice winning screen. Very much like the losing screen we had before when health dropped. So let's have a look at the very simple code we have here to achieve this. So we have set score equals 0, and forever, if the score is greater than 100, switch the backdrop to spotlight, which is you win, stop all, and that's it. This other bit of code is just incrementing the values. So it was just a little bit of a trial code I used to force the score to go up. So we've seen variables then used in a winning way. We use variables lots of the time. Also, you can use it to monitor populations, health, lists, loads of things. We're now moving towards the end section, which are some of the more complicated things, like pollinating flowers. Let's look at this one. Let's start this off. So here, this strange thing, which looks more like a tree, we're saying is a flower. And if this touches a flower, it can then pollinate these bushes. And you can see it's drawing on these bushes. And then it stops because it can't pollinate the sky. And we come down. And you can see. So it's using a sort of line technique to indicate where the pollination is. Let's see how that was done. Now our good friend the butterfly doesn't have much. Let's just see where its code is. It obviously has the movement code, and let's see. So the first thing is it says when clicked, it gets rid of any drawings and lifts your pen. That's a good start. Now, it also monitors for whether you touch this flower. If it does, it says broadcast collected pollen, which broadcast is just a way of making a sort of call, kind of hey, this block over here is waiting to hear collected pollen. If I broadcast it, it initiates this, which is a forever loop. And if it's touching the green flowers, then the pen goes down, and it's down for 0.1 of a second, pen up, pen down, and it gives you that sort of dotted line you can see. If it's not on the green, it doesn't drop your pollination. And that's just one of the many ways you can show pollination. Let's look at another one, like, we had breaking down a poo. Oh, I think we've got something breaking down a poo, so let me just see if I can get into this one quickly. Bit slow today, so let's move on from that one to digging. So with digging, sometimes, especially with dung beetles, they're underground and you want to be able to dig tunnels like this. Let's see how that's done inside. I'll stop that. This is all done by using the pen function. The first part of it says when clicked, you erase everything, you set the pen size, and you set this pen color to black. Put the pen down, and then you go for a walk. Move 10 steps, turn randomly again, and if on the edge bounce, that's important because that gives you these little bounces, and they bounce quite randomly. So that's a nice feature of it all. Yeah, and that gives you a way of creating digging. Perhaps you don't want it to be at move 10. You perhaps want it to be slower, so the whole thing isn't dug out too quickly. I wonder if that breaking down poos is here. Let's just have a little look if we've got that. Yeah, so breaking down poos. So sometimes, especially with the dung beetle, you've got poos that you want to break down, so they have to come in contact with them. It says press B to break it down, and I can slowly fade it away. Press B to break it down, and I can ghost it out. Press B is like I'm eating it. Love that. Let's see what the code is like inside for that. So when clicked, I hide them all, and then I have a forever loop, and I start cloning them and making the poos. That's how I'm getting this cloned effect, okay? But this one is really how I eat them. So I start in a random position, a show, and then I have this forever loop, not surprisingly. If the poo is touching the beetle, say press B to break down. If B is pressed, and only pressed, repeat 25 and change the ghosting effect. And if you repeat it 25 times, what effectively will happen, because it's 4 times 25, that will be 100%. So you can play around with those two figures to make it a slower or a faster process. And at the end, you can delete the clone. And that gives you the way of slowly digesting things like poo. That's a ghosting effect. Done digging. Let's look at the last sort of special insect effect we've coded for. Here we have an insect who, well, let's face it, they do love to lay eggs. That's one of their big things. So this one has laid an egg. And you can see once laid, it starts cracking open, and you're going to have babies. Strangely enough, baby beetles in this case. I don't know the biology of that, but it gives you an idea. Let's see how that was done inside. So, first things first, let's look at the grasshopper. And the Grasshopper code is actually, if you press space, it says create a clone egg and say laid egg for 2 seconds. That's very simple. The next part is on the egg. So it says when I start as a clone, so that's when the Grasshopper says clone, I switch to the normal egg one, which we saw, and it's set at the Grasshopper's position, and then it shows it. So that they're the 3 commands here. Show. I repeat 7 times, changing my costume, which gives that sort of cracking effect. So it goes through that cracking effect 7 times. Broadcasts I'm hatched. We don't actually use that. And then gives you the final costume. And that's the way we get that nice egg cracking and beetle formation. So, once again, with these things, you can just copy them through by using backdrop, grabbing them, and putting them in there. Boom. And I've got it, and I can use that. So you can go into RStudio, grab them into your backdrop, and then use them directly. So we've covered lots today, and I don't want to take up more of your time. Now, we're not going to have a Q&A today, because I really want you to think about your questions in a more detailed way, and send through using Ask an Expert. The ones we will, if you send us information through on this, we will make sure that we put it in the frequently asked questions, and everyone will be able to gain that. So that are frequently asked questions in here, FAQs. So you will find all the frequently asked questions. So it really just comes to say good luck with your coding. Use our resources as much as possible. Use those great animated graphics. If you get stuck, contact us. And there is loads of other help out there on Scratch. And we're so looking forward to seeing your games. Take care. Bye.